The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Making their way to the set, it's Sam Tate and Warren Sprague.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Scheduled for One Fall podcast.
All right.
I'm Sam the Lionheart.
I'm Roz Warren.
I almost said Sam the Slayer. I just got done watching Game of Thrones, so
I don't give a shit.
I just got completely caught up, and oh, what a season it was.
I haven't seen any of this most recent season, so believe it or not, I really don't want to have any spoilers whatsoever. Can we try to have a spoiler-free show?
Well, we can't because I'm about to spoil something for you right now, and that is the main event at the next pay-per-view.
Oh, right.
As we all know, the elephant in the room and has to be discussed. We might as well get it out of the way.
Yep.
It's the only thing anyone can talk about. It's Roman Reigns suspension.
Correct. The wellness policy violation, thus far, very well kept under wraps by WWE. Records, I guess, there's been some rumors that have surfaced that this happened a while back, and that's why he dropped the title and gave it to, WWE's Iron Man, Dean Ambrose. Congrats to Ambrose.
Right.
But this actually happened a while back, so he knew this was coming, in a way.
And so what you're saying is if that's true, then them booking him in a triple threat was more of just to hide the fact that they knew the whole time.
Well, I think booking him in the triple threat is to remind us that he's still a big part of at least their immediate picture, and maybe that's why they're pushing forward the potential Shield reunion triple threat match now, so that then if they're going to punish him a la they did Jack Swagger, maybe they're just going to write him off after that. You know what I mean? Let him kind of subside after this one big, obviously money-making match. Like, why else would they not save it for SummerSlam? Or, many people have always said that triple threat match has to be a WrestleMania match,
Right, well, that's kind of my point is they've suspended him. He's not in the match anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not going through. So to say that he's in the match was simply to mask everything. Is that not what's happening?
Actually, what I understood most recently is that his 30-day suspension
is taking effect after.
Is taking effect now, but Battleground's more than 30 days away.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So the rumor is that they're going to continue to have him be part of the picture, just out of the picture, literally.
Yeah, I guess that's fair because I haven't heard anything saying that he's been yanked specifically. Mm-hmm. I just sort of assumed it when I saw that he wasn't on TV and was suspended and all this stuff.
Right.
Because that's normal. If that's the case, because all I have is rumors so far. I don't have a great source, and in wrestling, there's usually not a fantastic source. And so all my sources in the last day or so, as recent as I've checked just before we started recording, there's no word on what exactly the wellness policy violation was.
Right.
There's no word on exactly what he is disbarred from. As you said, he could still come back as long as the suspension gets served.
Sure.
And there's lots of talks about him being treated extremely favorably and being sort of a teacher's pet, if you will.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I'm shocked that they're trying to protect who they envision to be their greatest asset moving forward.
Right.
Why it's not Seth Rollins after this past week's match, I'm not sure.
They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to have their Seth.
Yeah, of course. You can't
Rollins.
have one. Yeah, okay. But the future John Cena is what Roman Reigns is being portrayed as. So
right.
it's tough to.
Right.
It's tough for them to swallow this pill. Like, look what just happened.
And it makes me.
It's not Jack Swagger who's going through this. It's
right.
not Adam Rose,
And it makes me think that it was a violation that was accidental, and he owned up to it. He did the whole "I made a mistake" thing,
yes.
Which makes me
immediately,
think
by the way, which I commend him for.
Right, which
matters, I'm sure, to him.
Which makes me think that it's not, it's not like a drug abuse thing that has been going on. I don't think it's necessarily a steroid thing that's, because these, correct me if I'm wrong, I would assume those things are typically long-term, effects. Like, it's not like one of those things where you, like, Jeff Hardy couldn't say, oh, sorry, I smoked one doob on the road,
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to believe that. Jeff Hardy has a storied history,
Right.
So I don't know. So I'm starting to think maybe he violated the wellness policy, but in like a really weird sort of obscure way. Maybe it wasn't a drug use or a steroid abuse, but it was maybe he did something because I believe the wellness policy isn't just about what you put in your body; it's how you treat your body, things you do. Similar to an athlete's no compete clause during the off season. Like, for example, a lot of guys now are getting contracts that say they can't play recreational sports for fear of being injured.
Right.
You know, maybe it's something along those lines.
He owned up to it so fast, and his verbiage was very, well, I mean, steadfast, but a little defeated. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He stood by what his decision was, however, he knew it was a bad one. Mm. So whatever it was, it could have, I mean, I'm sure it was something minor.
Right.
Something that was probably a one-off. He was probably like, hey, I'm one of the number one guys in the company. Are they really going to drug me?
Right. And to
then,
take the...
Yeah, they are.
To take the negative side of that, I guess, it also probably is characteristic of Roman Reigns because he knows that he's sort of this golden goose, you know, this golden egg laying goose for them, that he is the guy that they want in the future. So he knows that if he just goes along with it, he takes his lickings, and if they've told him, you know, hey, we're going to suspend you, but you'll still be in the main event, then he has all reason to not fight it. He has all the reasons in the world to just come clean, say, yeah, I did it, won't happen again, you know.
Right.
And so that, I think, is what other superstars, you know, what that locker room feistiness might be about, is they've given him an environment where he's allowed to do that, where other superstars are probably afraid to come forward and admit it, you know, and like Adam Rose had to fight for prescription drugs that his personal doctor told WWE doctors about, like, you know. So he didn't even want to come through and say he was on, what was it, Adderall? Wasn't it, you know, it was something
it was something like that, some kind of behavior modifier.
Yeah.
Really what did him in worse than anything was the domestic abuse that was eventually dropped.
Right.
You know, the domestic case. It's a very sad story about Adam Rose, but he seems happy. Switching gears a little bit, I guess. But I guess going and putting the final word on Roman Reigns, it'll be interesting to see if he continues to handle this well, if the WWE Universe and the WWE minds are going to, you know, continue to put him in the forefront. I'm actually really excited to see if this is going to be something that reintroduces him to working his way up from the bottom again, or if
almost
this
assuredly not.
It's hard to tell. But here's the thing. I do want to point out that we were there in the stands for Money in the Bank. We were there in T-Mobile Arena. We watched the show. And as much as we hated the first 60% of that main event, was it not one of the more compelling main events we've seen on a WWE pay-per-view in some years?
Compelling's the correct word. Compelling is probably the perfect word, because I wouldn't call it necessarily exciting. It had exciting moments. It had its pops. It had its spots.
Yeah.
But compelling is really the answer, because the whole time you're just, you know, as a wrestling fan, as a smark, I guess you could say, we're sitting there and we're just like, man, are they really going to let Seth go over on him? You know, are they going to let him go over clean? Or is he really going to cheat? Is he really going to, you know, walk away?
They did a really good job building how much Roman was trying to bully Seth.
Yep.
And every time we got especially antsy, they shut us down with more Roman offense. It was one of the best main events I think we've seen since last year's SummerSlam.
Oh, for sure.
When Seth and John Cena went at it, and the crowd was so behind Seth that they worked Cena that they had Cena work like a heel.
And we've talked about this last year. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I might have put it on camera. I don't know if I have, but Seth Rollins, for those of you who haven't been aware, I guess, or haven't really sat down and considered it, Seth Rollins has been a heel who wrestles like a face, who's treated like an underdog, who gets bullied by the good guys. You know,
good point.
He wrestles like a plucky young cruiserweight Shawn Michaels type. You know, Shawn Michaels was considered an innovator of high-flying offense of his day.
Yeah.
You know, and Seth wrestles in that sort of medium-sized guy area.
Yeah. Very edgish.
Yeah, but then, you know, is supposed to be this cowardly heel who hides behind people, but then turns around and power bombs the shit out of people.
Right.
And then he's supposed to run away and be a thieving, conniving architect, but then he does giant fucking phoenix splashes.
I know.
And so, to me, that's the ultimate package. Is I get him heel on the microphone, I get him heel in promos, and I get him laughing and smirking, and he has one of the more vindictive finishers handed down to him by Triple H. You know,
I understand.
There's-
One of the more recognizable.
Yeah, well, there's very few. There's very few finishers that can really, show how much you hate somebody than fucking sticking their head between your legs, pulling their arms up, looking at the crowd, and then driving their head face first into the mat. So
I get what you're saying. It's a very it's a very iconic
it's a vicious
finisher.
move.
It's pretty strong. And I think adding to your praise of Seth, we do get the full package in him. I was very excited to see him come back and get that kind of a match where they were. I mean, for all that WWE tries to say, no, don't feel that way. Don't feel that way about this guy. Do it over here.
Right.
When it's crunch time, they figure it out. And this past Sunday was crunch time a little bit, and they knew that we were not going to take any crap, and they wrestled the match that I kind of predicted they would, minus the finish. And it sucks that we didn't get to put out this video, but I called midair pedigree.
Yeah, it's been a week removed now, but we did, yeah.
I'm still so proud. I actually predicted. Yes, I predicted the pedigree mid-spear.
Yeah.
Which, I don't have much to be proud of in my life, and I'm proud of that. So,
hey, I got you on the Raw review. I mentioned it.
That's right. So. Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't get to see that.
We had talked about. I went into the whole thing about how we had discussed what would we like to see, and that was basically the answer on that video. That unfortunately I lost to the cloud mind space of fuck wherever information goes when I can't access it anymore. So it is what it is. But that's why we're here. That's why we're doing a different style. We're doing a different thing. But not to get sidetracked, I still want to talk about Seth because that's a good segue. Because about this time last year, we got Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose.
Right. And as a matter of fact, this exact time last year.
Right. So this seems like this seems like the correct way to do it though, because I've been soft on Dean. We both have. We both talked about it personally.
Recently. Yeah.
I've not been a huge fan of what I like to call the slapping gibbler because all of his punches are slaps and he's always licking his lips and making weird noises. Yeah. So,
best facial expressions in the business right now though.
Oh, yeah. And so far, now correct me if I'm wrong, so far from what I've seen just in the week since, because it's weird to think it's only been a week.
Right.
But in the week since, I think that belt has elevated Ambrose. It has legitimized him. It has given me a new aspect to his character. It has made him seem worthy. It allows his moves to have more impact, more pop. He's more important. And from what I've seen just from him being up on Roman and being up on Seth, and it gives his character. So he's always had this character for pretty much since the Shield broke up of he's crazy, he'll fight anybody, he'll take on anyone. He's got that stone cold, I'll drink a beer with you, then kick your ass, regardless of whether or not you're
scrappy and
regardless of whether or not you're Vince McMahon or JR Jim Ross, he'll fucking stun your ass, he'll beat you up. Right. That's stone cold. So Dean Ambrose now has a reason to do that. Mm-hmm. Now with the belt and being stuck between two guys that we can't decide if we like him or if we hate him, it's given him this weird, perfect opportunity. And I feel like we hate to give WWE credit. So I feel like they almost don't even realize what they did until they showed up on SmackDown that week and had Dean drop them both in the ring. Mm-hmm. It was at that moment I realized this is what his character has needed this whole time.
True. A reason to feel on top.
Right, a reason to beat other people up is really it, because he gets in these matches and we talked about it. He loses and loses and loses, and that was the rhetoric. That was the the everyman's negative to Dean Ambrose was he just keeps losing. We don't feel he's ready. He's not complete. He's not a complete package yet. And what I needed to realize, and what I think everyone needed to realize, and what the belt realized with him is he doesn't need to be a complete package guy like Seth Rollins. No. He doesn't need to be this multifaceted guy. Because while Stone Cold is I think
butt kicker extraordinaire.
Right, but I think critically underrated from a cerebral sense, from a ring psychology, from a knowledge of the business. go back and watch the Booker T getting beat up in a supermarket and tell me the guy doesn't know the business. Really. Tell me every little thing he does. He doesn't know theater and showmanship, and from his podcast.
Credit to Booker T too. He took a great.
Oh yeah. Booker T. The whole time he screams. I can't remember exactly because it's been years since I watched it, but he screams in a really weird way. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. But anyway, because they got the cops called on him because it sounded like he was actually getting his ass beat.
Yeah.
So and this is why the podcast is better, because we ramble and we get on tangents.
It's what happens.
But to wrap it all up and let you speak, Dean Ambrose doesn't need to be this complete package of mouth and look and moves and technique. He needs to be Dean Ambrose, the ass kicker, who doesn't take shit from anyone, who doesn't back down from fights, who doesn't need your approval. He doesn't need to be the guy or the man. He doesn't need to be anyone's favorite. He doesn't need shit. He just needs to show up and beat ass and get rewarded for it. And so far, for almost a full year, he's not been rewarded for it.
Fair enough. Yeah. I have 2 points to this. The first one is, I think Dean not only is legitimized by the title, but I feel like him having it's the first time in a while I feel like we've had a champion that WWE hasn't been obviously trying to elevate to an upper god tier level. You know what I mean?
Not in a long-term sense.
Like,
I think
Cena's up here, and then they push Seth so hard, and then they push Roman so hard, and of course there's Brock. Which leads me to how exciting, because, we've seen Dean Ambrose lose to everybody and his mother over the last couple months, which isn't to say he's not a credible champion. It's to say that the entire pool of wrestlers now becomes just a little bit more intriguing, because on any given night, can a Cesaro step in and give that guy a run for his money? Absolutely. Right. Great match waiting. Who cares who wins? It basically makes it more fun for us as fans, because nobody else on that God tier is necessarily holding the title. So now we're either waiting for Dean to get to the God tier, or we're waiting for, somebody else to be elevated by that championship in a similar way. We could see a really exciting depth increase to that whole division. But
point.
I feel like, and it just hit me now while we were talking about it, is this not where they're wanting to go in with the story, in that Dean Ambrose will have to defend his title against none other than Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam? Because there is there's the knowledge, following his UFC fight against Mark Hunt. Good luck with that, Lesnar. Lesnar's going to come back and be a part of SummerSlam. Well, we all know that it's the main event when Brock performs, and we all know that Brock has Dean Ambrose's number. I mean, pretty what's the word? Definitively.
That was his last match, wasn't it? That was his last.
That was Brock's last match. Was at WrestleMania when he hammered on Dean Ambrose pretty unceremoniously. One of the more disappointing matches of the night, because poor Dean never looked like he was going to win. Well, now poor Dean has the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Now poor Dean has everything to lose. He's been a guy without anything to lose for a year, and has consistently lost.
Correct.
And just stayed stagnant because he has nothing to lose, but nothing to gain.
Everything to lose. So now we're going to see a new level of Dean, and I really feel like they're heading in that direction.
And it's interesting to say a new level of Dean, and I'll say this, and while you were talking, I sort of was able to finish this thought, and we as internet wrestling fans, you could say, we as smart fans, as fans who are involved, we typically, and I've been roasted on this before by people, or grilled, I shouldn't say roasted, that sounds like they win, but people have brought it to my attention before that, everyone acts like, you have to be the second coming of Shawn Michaels, or you have to be, a wrestling god before you can be champion in WWE. You can't let anyone be champion unless they've proven themselves over and over and over and over again. And I realized that maybe that mentality of us being like, well, this guy's not right, that guy's not right, this guy's not right. Maybe that's why we end up with these really long programs to excel people, because WWE is trying to give them a sort of legitimacy backbone on their meteoric rise, and instead we just get fucking sick of them. We even saw it a tiny bit, I'd say, with Daniel Bryan. There were people who were sick of the Yes Movement shortly after he won. There were people leading up to WrestleMania saying, okay, we fucking get it. He's going to win.
Yep.
That's great. And they were just sort of over it because WWE took it over. They made it their own.
Their machine.
Yeah,
they actually accepted it.
Yeah, they named it. They called it the Yes Movement.
Yep.
But this is the first time I think I've ever seen the belt elevate the guy. And to Dean's credit, so far, it's been a week.
Risen to the challenge.
Right, it's been a week, but he's risen to the challenge. He has been better on TV in 2 days than he has in a whole year.
It's weird because there's something very match. Like Austin, there's something surprisingly relatable about Ambrose because we all are the scrappy people in our lives trying to overcome plateau after plateau. And he has been knocked down and knocked down and knocked down, and now he's on top. And there's something, on a human level, I'm very happy for the guy. You know, we've seen all the table for threes, and we've seen all the breaking grounds, and we've seen we've read all the interviews and listened to the podcast, and you just listen to Dean sweat and bleed for the business and passionately stand up for his right to be at where he's at. So, it's cool. It's a good place as a wrestling fan to be watching, I think.
Right, and as you've mentioned, part of what we talk about, like, we got soft on him, I don't think any of us ever said that we wanted him to lose the whole year.
Right.
For a whole year now, you and I have looked at every pay-per-view. We've talked about them all, whether it's been in front of a camera or not. And I don't think any time ever we've picked the other guy that we want. Every time everyone says, this is Dean's to win. He's got to win or else he's going to fall into irrelevancy.
Obscurity.
He's going to sink down the card. He's going to
get Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler, yep. That's the most, appropriate name right now. But So, it's important to note that while I say that I was starting to not be a fan, I was starting to get bored of his matches, it's because it'd always be Dean punching and slapping and kicking, doing a couple run-in knees, dropping an elbow, and then fucking losing. And he always came out on top on TV. Was also a huge problem. He'd always come out ahead and out-think you and be more clever and get the jump on you. And it was always funny and enjoyable, and we laughed and we cried. The guys got hit with hot dogs and mustard.
Well, that was his best run. That was his best run thus far that I've seen him in, was when he first got that resurgence as a single guy.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm down for them to allow him to branch out his offense a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
As much as I'm
He's already started.
For a good old-fashioned, Nigel McGuinness-esque jump off the turnbuckle prior to lariat, as much as I am a fan for that classic whatever, flip through the rope and then clothesline a guy. It's all
rebound
striking.
Clothesline, I think is what we're calling it, rebound clothesline.
And normally I'm pretty good about those, but I totally flubbed that one. He was one of his mentors. He says it over and over and over again, and you see it in his game. One of his mentors was William Regal. He has utilized the Regal stretch in the Independence.
Oh yeah,
he's utilized the knee
a couple times.
The knee trembler with the. I love that.
I miss that.
I miss that too. I love that. There was something a little bit more badass about Ambrose as the cerebral leader of the Shield than there has been a legitimate level of badassery since he's gone lunatic. You know what I mean?
Right.
He seems like a crazy guy who has no boundaries, but is he a badass? Not quite. And that's what I want to see this run with the title reestablish him as a legitimate badass.
Yeah.
So I think we harped on that. Congratulations, Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you do. Thank you, WWE, for giving him an opportunity. It will be fun. It's fun television. I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see. Also, if you think about it, a face we can get behind, holding the title for the first time in forever.
Long time. Since Daniel Bryan, in my opinion.
Yeah. Actually, which is
big Bryan fan. So
that's the only shirt you wear. So.
No, I've got the beard is here too.
Oh, that's right.
I have the other Daniel Bryan shirt, the other good
one. Congrats to Dean. Triumphant return for Seth. Anytime we're going to see those two lock up, very much a Triple H Austin feud, of the future. Maybe we could get treated to that. Obviously, different performers on a skill level,
right?
But I couldn't put it past him. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him.
So-
Great talent.
So the one more thing about the title defense, I guess, here, the title reign is, who do you want to see Dean fight the most who's not a member of the Shield? Who do you want him to defend his title in a program for a whole month against, more so than Seth or Roman? And I'm going to disqualify Brock Lesnar right now because I think Dean Ambrose versus Paul Heyman on the microphone was some pretty good stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Not quite, can't be Paul Heyman's best stuff. Sorry, Dean.
Right.
Like, probably some of Dean's better stuff for microphone work.
Absolutely. Who do I want to see him work a program with that aren't those guys? A returning Randy Orton, I think, is a good place to start. I think Randy Orton coming back and saying, that's always been my title, you're just a punk kid, I did the crazy thing, voices in my head thing first. As much as some people on this couch are not Randy Orton fans,
How long has it been since Randy's been in?
I like watching Randy wrestle, and I love his ring psychology. How long has it been since he wrestled?
Yeah, how long has it been?
Well, I mean, that's the point, is his most recent run was pretty not memorable.
Oh, not at all.
And I think the last time he wrestled was a pretty casual Raw match, and then he disappeared. He was being built back into the title picture, if I remember correctly.
And then everyone booed him
And
the fuck back out.
Well,
They kept putting him up against Sheamus.
him coming back, that thing.
Yeah,
That was their last program.
Yeah, they kept putting him against Sheamus on a mid-card, then Sheamus got the title. Then they teased him versus Sheamus on a TV spot. Everyone's like, good God, stop. Please stop.
I'm ready for Randy to be back. I think the universe will probably be okay with him coming back, and them having a good feud is possible.
God, there was such a beautiful moment where there was no John Cena and there was no Randy Orton, but then Seth got injured, and it was just like, these are the crimes that we pay for.
We had a tough couple months overall. Plus, then we also didn't have Cesaro. I mean, it was the Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose show, which is why they were a tag team for so long, because it's like, between the two of them, we've kind of got a main event.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then... Okay, so...
Which, is where Ambrose got all that workhorse time. Again, not talking down. It's just both of those guys are brawlers to a T.
Right.
Or at least they're marketed as such right now.
I mean, I'm at the point now where I gotta assume Randy doesn't have a whole lot left. I don't think he's gonna be wrestling for 6 more years. If John stayed with the company for 6 years, I could see that. But, they're both on their way out. But I don't see Orton coming back and having any... substantial, like he might come back in part-time.
That's what he's asked for, I understand, if I remember correctly, is he's ready for a part-time, and I'm cool.
And his character I don't think it can't substantiates that. Yeah, well, I don't think his character,
where else could he go?
Well, that's what I'm saying is he can't really reinvent himself. He's only really had like 1, maybe 2 characters, transitioning from Legend Killer to Viper, and I don't think he's the kind of character that can run a seasonal program, that can run a part-time program. I don't think, he's not mythic and, stoic enough to be like this big badass figure. The worst he could do is he could just show up and keep RKOing people and being like, it's coming from out of nowhere.
The fact of the matter is he's fun. I mean, I enjoy watching his matches. I've never been low on watching his contests, and except for when I've seen 47 John Cena Randy Orton matches. But then again, I know that the quality of the match will be good underneath all of us bitching. Honestly.
So let's talk about someone who we're both excited returned, and that's Bray Wyatt.
Yes. I mean, it was 1 day late, as we kind of figured it would be. Great to hear the chants. Great to see the program with the New Day.
Yes. I'm so excited. Did you see when Austin Creed kind of zoned out for a minute? Xavier Woods zoned out and started like slowly like walk towards the ring while Bray Wyatt was talking.
What a great
And Kofi's like, whoa, chill, bro.
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah.
That was so great. You want to talk about 2 of the least realistic kind of characters, but not in a not in a disbarring your suspension of disbelief, not necessarily in a cartoony way, but also at the same time in the best cartoony ways.
Right.
You've got Big Bad Boogeyman and his weird fucking banjo strumming family versus Happy Fun Times cereal guys. It's 2 different Saturday morning cartoons going at it.
It's gonna be really fun to watch, except we're sans Luke Harper.
Yes, which I'm actually I'm okay with that. I've made peace with this because it allows Luke Harper to reinvent himself and come back as a singles competitor.
Let's hope they do that.
I'm only sad.
No reason to add him in. Go ahead.
I'm only sad because I think he's gonna shave his beard and go back to how he looked in the Indies.
We'll see.
Where he'll come back.
We'll see.
Which wasn't completely clean cut, but he's got one of the sweetest, if not the sweetest beard in WWE right now.
I love his character. I think Luke Harper up and down as a character is really cool. The whole zoning out thing. Yeah. You know, he's got a mastery of the subtleties that I think guys like Dean and Randy have flashed at times.
I was going to say
and Bray, all psychological fun.
Yeah, Luke's got the in-ring expertise that we've always given credit to guys like Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, both guys we've never seen make it on their own.
Which is weird because how come he gets to do his power bombs, super kicks, and over-the-top rope planches, but we have to complain about other people's offense when he's not even a main event player? You know what I mean? They've let him use his moveset to the point where he's noticed.
Yeah.
If everybody else got to use their movesets, like you've said over and over again, I love Roman Reigns when he's doing a crucible powerbomb out of the corner.
Right, when he's doing big power moves, when he's doing stuff, it's
Why
great.
do you think Luke got to do all this cool offense that's flashy and noticeable, and do you think other guys aren't capable of it, or do you think they just...
well, I think
that's an interesting wrinkle to me.
Right, well, I think it's two interesting things. Is one, I think Luke Harper... if I have to just go based on what I know from the guy I watch him in the ring, never met him, never watched him do like interviews or anything.
I think that's kind of how we all have to do it.
Right. Well, you know, some people know was Brody Lee a little more personable. Yeah. So, you know, some people have watched him do talk shows and little things like that in the wrestling community. So I'm not that indie though. But if I have to assume it, I think it's that he knows that that's what he has to do regardless of whether or not that's what WWE wants him to do. And two is most of his programs solo, he's been able to work with guys like Dean Ambrose. Mm-hmm. And Dean's totally cool with that shit. Dean's like, I don't care how big you are, super kick me. You know, do a running or what is it? He does like a standing Hurricane Rana. He does like a one-legged Hurricane Rana.
Yeah, he does a Cena Can Rana.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I want to call it Cena Can't Rana.
Keep talking.
You know, Cena does like that weird scooping leg jump where Luke just kind of like... I'm serious.
The weird scooping leg jump. Is that the new Falcon?
I don't. No. When John Cena does a Cena Can't Run, he swings his legs wide out and jumps really high, and he pulls your head down, and then you pick him up.
That's true.
When Luke Harper does it, he runs at you, puts his heel right here, and then his other heel right here, and then next thing you know, you're on the fucking ground, and you're like, "That's really weird." You were just standing right there.
You were just fine.
Yeah.
And now you're down.
We were looking at each other in the eye, and now I'm looking at you in the dick, like, you know.
Done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. But my point is that he's been able to work with guys who are willing to let him do those things, like Dolph Ziggler, like Dean Ambrose, and at the same time, I think he understands that when he breaks away from the Wyatt family, he's not the hot tag guy anymore. He's not the heel tag team wrestler guy. He's the guy who wants to put on a show. And you talk about guys who want to grab the brass ring. If Luke Harper's not that guy, you know, watch that fucking TLC match with him and Dean.
Right.
You know, watch him in any of the TLC.
No, he's a great wrestler.
Over the
years. He's got this grimy, awesome look. He's got eyes that legitimately freak you out. I love watching him do anything. So
he's got precision in his power. He's got the same precision that I talk about. Which is so
weird. We're talking about New Day and Bray Wyatt, and we can't stay away from the missing piece of Harper. It's so crazy.
Because to me, Luke Harper's always been the guy that really made the Wyatt family work, because you and I have talked about it.
He's the Kofi who's not there.
Right. Well, I don't know if Kofi makes New Day work. I don't know if that's fair.
Oh, I think he elevates them.
I don't think you can replace Kofi in that tag team. I'll say that. I think Kofi's unique enough.
Thank goodness it's not R-Truth.
Yeah. I don't think you can replace Kofi, but at the same time, you know, you have to understand that my history of watching Bray Wyatt promos has always been, you know, what's his real motivation? What's the means to the end? Mm-hmm. He's not after titles. He's not necessarily after revenge. He did do the kidnapping thing, but then didn't do the kidnapping thing. And then he's come up with all these, you know, weird, eclectic, abstract monikers that he spills at people that aren't really catchphrases, and he doesn't recycle them or reuse them. So for a long time, the only thing I got to see was Bray Wyatt really...
Except for Run.
Yeah, well, that's a catchphrase, but I mean
Follow the
that's
buzzards.
not a goal. Yeah, but yeah, what is follow the buzzards? Like, where did that go? That went nowhere.
Yeah.
Who follows them? No one followed them.
Who are the buzzards?
Yeah.
Even the commentators. Yeah. Well.
But real quick.
Yeah. Finish the point.
Luke Harper was, when Bray came down and he'd do all his bullshit on the Titantron, which doesn't matter. I'm sorry, I don't care how much you liked it. It didn't matter because it didn't mean anything and it didn't go anywhere. But what did matter was Bray would come down, he'd sit in his fucking rocking chair, he'd blow out the fucking lantern, and then he'd say, "Get him."
Yeah.
And then what would happen? Luke would then get in the ring and tell Eric Rowan what to do.
Yeah.
It was
There
very
was
much,
good storytelling with those characters in front of when they're not vignetting.
Luke Harper was the big brother to the Eric Rowan. That was really the main impetus. Bray Wyatt's that figurehead character who doesn't act, who doesn't do anything. But the majority of the story, chapters 1 through 19, were Luke Harper dictating what him and
You
Eric
got a
Rowan
commander,
do.
you got a foot soldier, and you got a lieutenant.
Yeah, there's a
very
chain of
interesting
command.
hierarchy.
Whereas New Day are all mostly equals. You've kind of got a brain, skill, and muscle kind of thing going on.
Totally.
You've got a talker, the look, but they all talk and they all have the look and they all do the thing. So I think New Day is easily a more well-rounded three.
More complete.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Especially
especially since now they don't even need Luke Harper to continue going on.
Yeah, I mean, Braun Strowman's a big green, guy who will.
He's big.
One day, he's that guy that we're gonna need every couple generations. He's another Luke Gallows or another, Kane. Just another big guy who's gonna be big. Eric Rowan actually has some interesting wrinkles to his offense because two of his favorite moves are a spinning roundhouse kick that's legitimately over his head. Dude had to do ballet when he was younger, and then the frog splash that we don't see from him a whole lot, but he's done it.
Yeah, Kevin Owens stole that. He stole the fat guy frog
Oh,
splash.
can we? Okay, well, New Day versus Wyatt family. I'm all for it. Gonna be great. Truly, the battleground of battleground is there.
And real quick, I'll say this. I think nobody is better for Bray Wyatt and his family than the New Day. I don't think anyone's going to legitimize his spookiness. We already talked about Xavier Woods. Sorry, Austin Creed. I watch him too much on the internet. Yeah. We've already talked about how he's legitimized the spooky, mystical vibe that Bray brings. So, I don't think there's anybody who is going to fear the Wyatt family for what they are better than the New Day.
And I feel like this will finally. I think the Wyatt family will go over.
And they'll finally establish that they have motivation and needs.
And I think it's the beginning of them truly taking the reins, which is weird because one thing I did think, and I don't know if we really need to talk about this a whole lot of time. We're already probably hitting about the 40-minute mark, and my phone's almost out of room. So I have to say, we thought when we got him back, we were going to get Wyatt family finally in the face zone. The crowd wants it too, cheering. So having them now again be the big brooding characters against New Day adds another wrinkle. But are we going to get to the point where we're going to cheer him anyway, kind of like we did Seth? You know what I mean?
I think it'll be yes.
Me as everybody. I mean, I like both groups, so I don't care.
I think it'll be more similar to getting a pop like The Undertaker did when he was the American Badass. Because the American Badass allowed his character to technically be face in more ways, and that was a big part of the turn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he did still spend most of his time as this heel tweener kind of guy.
Yeah.
And it was mostly because
being respecting to people.
Right. He'd go.
Taker.
Right. He'd go and beat up, young new faces.
Family.
Yeah. And he'd go and beat up new guy faces, and then Jeff Hardy's and stuff. But as long as he respected them afterwards, it was okay. Or if he disrespected them, it was a heel turn.
He was a great tool for elevating then, too.
Yeah, and then he also would have feuds with old-timer guys like Hulk Hogan's and Ric Flair's and Triple H's and stuff later on that, allowed him to be a heel, that allowed him to be this sometimes cowardly heel character. And so, you know, but the main thing is when that music hit and the motorcycle came out, whether he was face or heel, he got a reaction.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that reaction was more excited than...
One way or another, good or bad, yeah.
Right, it wasn't necessarily good or bad.
One way or another,
exciting.
here's Undertaker's, we're going to see something worth watching.
And that's really, you know, to steal from Stone
Which
Cold.
is what I feel about Kevin Owens right now.
Yeah, well, to steal from Stone Cold, that's the bottom line, though, is people need to be excited whether you're face or heel. And for years and years, Vince fought that, you know. And I say Vince, and that's not strictly true, but it is basically Vince running it for as long as... The time period that I'm talking about, from like 2004 to now, you know, has been Vince running it. And... You know, throughout so much, he wanted very cut and dry, good and bad guys. He wanted to go back to the Saturday morning cartoon of the late 80s, early 90s, you know, back to the WWF on USA Network before Raw was War, before it was just Raw, you know.
Right.
And you know, very much he wanted that clean cut, this is a heel, he's cowardly and stupid and you should not cheer for him. Don't ever cheer for him. That's when we saw rise to the Miz's, to the Jack Swaggers, to, you know,
and those were the
Randy Orton,
Del Rios.
the Randy Orton and the Alberto Del Rios. You know, those were all the heels that held the belt in that time, and that's why John Cena had year-long fucking title
Poor
reigns.
Swagger. To this day, I want a shirt that says "Poor Swagger."
Just has a hand here, and you just cover it up, and when you take it away, it says "Poor Swagger."
I'm also... I mean, I never liked the guy as a talker, but...
Oh, I mean...
But I mean...
You can't talk,
Very
so.
polished guy in the ring. In my mind, good wrestler. He can always put on a decent match. He had that intensity. That's one thing you can't take away from him, is he had the intensity. But I definitely don't want to spend much time talking about Swagger. I know we have other things to discuss.
Well, I'll say the one credit I'll always give to Jack Swagger is he very much knew where he was in the ring and where to throw a guy. You know, he had a lot of great ways to pick a dude up from one corner and throw him to the other. But, here's an easy topic change so we can start talking about relevant shit. Kevin Owens. All you have to do is say Kevin Owens. We said Kevin Owens earlier. I saw your eyes light up.
Yeah.
I saw your little dog ears perk up. You want to talk about Kevin Owens?
I mean, the bump he took at Money in the Bank, yet another example of how this guy's given it all. I mean, that Michinoku driver spot was so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And... You know, we both picked him to win the ladder match, so having Dean win was, you know, a surprise. I can't even say immediately whether it was pleasant or not. I mean, I'm cool with it now, but, like, at that moment, I think we were both so ready to see a Kevin Owens victory, but...
I think the vast majority picked Kevin Owens.
Sure. I think because they had been following that heel pattern of giving it to the guy with the big mouth who's nasty and who can win. Now it's him versus Sammy again, which we can't complain about.
Right, and that's hard. It's hard to complain. I want to complain. I want to complain really fucking bad, and most people would get on my case for that, and I understand why. But at the same time, how you know I'm a true wrestling fan who actually knows what the fuck I'm talking about, I'm not complaining.
There's too much good to be had.
There's, you know, I mean, these guys have fought for so long, and people are still willing to watch it. And at first you thought...
It's an Edge Angle feud.
Right, well, at first you thought...
Chris Benoit Kurt feud, too, you know?
Right. Those guys can reignite at any time.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I'm so excited that we have a couple of those rivalries starting to blossom, because that makes for entertaining television at almost any point. And they used to think that was Cena and Randy, by the way. But,
yeah, they used to think, their feud goes back so far, like, Jesus.
No. Yeah, super exciting to see more Kevin and Sammy.
So I have to ask the question, though, is this the one Sami Zayn needs to win?
Yeah.
He's down that path. Ziggler's past that point.
I think there will be a kind of a dirty, nondescript win at Battleground for Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And then SummerSlam will be the big win for Sammy. That will have a lot of eyes on it. And
SummerSlam will be the one that Shane McMahon says, "Here, Sammy. Here's your stip. Here's your chance."
Cool with me.
You know.
I love both guys. It's just weird. Sammy's such a relatable guy too. Sorry.
You gave me a reason to complain, because now I know why I want to complain about this. Is I want both these guys to be elevated. I want both these guys to be
true.
at the top. And if you keep fucking putting them against each other, one of them's gotta lose.
Yeah.
You know? And you elevated Kevin Owens off of wins on guys like John Cena, who Sami Zayn lost to.
Right.
And you elevate him off wins off of guys like Sami Zayn. And then you're gonna turn around and the only way you're gonna elevate Sami Zayn is to put him back over this guy? Like, that's my complaint. And I don't
true.
want to complain because it's gonna be
Sammy
great.
could do a really good feud. You know what would be a really fun Sammy feud for SummerSlam if they decide not to continue this too much longer? Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho.
I thought you were going to say that. I was going to say it. That would be, probably the final send-off for Jericho, I think.
Oh, really?
Well,
He
maybe not.
seems
Maybe
he
not.
seems pretty committed right now.
Maybe not final, but I don't... See, Jericho's been doing weekly TV,
Yeah.
like, for a long
And
time.
he's
and
just now debuting a new catchphrase, the stupid idiots and
I
the
don't
drink
think
it
he-
in.
I don't-
These are new aspects to his character. He's recreating himself again.
I don't...
I don't think he'd waste his time doing that if he was on the way out soon.
Let's not call stupid idiot a catchphrase. I don't think...
People chant it now.
I-
It's a chant.
I know, and I hate
We
it.
chanted it.
I hate it. He's already confirmed that there will not be a stupid idiot t-shirt. That he's not going to roll out official stupid idiot merchandise.
Because it's offensive.
To who? Stupid idiots?
Drink it in.
Yeah, I want that shirt. I would buy that. I'd buy a drink it in shirt.
Too much respect for Jericho on this couch, I think. There's no
Yeah,
point
oh.
talking about that again.
Yeah. But real quick, my only thing is, he's talking more about Fozzy Rock and music on Twitter. I've seen some stuff. His podcasts are being more and more not wrestlers again. He's branching out to doing entertainment stuff, which makes me think he's going to take... he's do a big match at SummerSlam, take some time off, come back around WrestleMania, do some promo stuff, maybe come back, do a little part-timey stuff, because he's gone from being like our fucking champion to leaving for a bit, to part-timing, to leaving the part-time and then coming back, having a run, leaving part-timing and then coming back and doing its current run right now, and Jericho can create and throw away catchphrases faster than anyone.
Yeah.
The guy's got catchphrases fucking 20 years old that he can bust out if he has to, but doesn't need to.
We'll see what happens. We never know with Jericho.
Yeah, Jericho...
He's still so good in the ring and can take so much punishment that he'll do it when he wants, and that's cool.
And at this point, he really can't do any wrong in my eyes.
It's true.
He could take a belt off anybody right now. I wouldn't complain.
No.
He could fucking walk in.
I was about to say, do we really want to see a Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho feud for the title? And my answer is yeah.
Yes.
Even though we just watched 3 more months, 3 months of that.
Right. Don't I
think
hate
now
myself?
This is where Jericho should come over and be like, I went over him at one point. Can I get my title match now? We'll see.
As long as it's not a fucking 30-minute Ambrose Asylum match or whatever.
Miz, we like to talk about mid-card for a second. I think that pretty much constitutes it because right now, I know you and Rusev are not on speaking terms. And Miz, we could care less. Both good heels, both good bad guys, both doing what they need to be doing.
Both clogging up title belts. I'd rather see on other guys.
Yeah, well, and then that's
both guys.
Fine. That's what the whole point is for us to get so sick of them that we...
Both guys with title belts that they've held previously.
Interesting.
And did nothing with.
Yeah.
And getting second chances. Both guys fucking foreign women who are blonde. Currently blonde.
Both guys... overly sweaty almost
all
times.
Is Lana actually foreign though? Actually, now that I think about it. Okay.
She is.
I wasn't sure. She could have just been doing the
I think she's truly
voice.
Russian.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Rusev character. I'm a fan of the Rusev
fan of the Lana
wrestler.
character.
and I'm a fan of Lana and their combo. They do good. They do much better together than they ever did apart. Glad that that's over. I stand behind Rusev being a major player not too long from now. I really do.
I could see it. Yeah,
he's a potential heel of the future.
Dude.
And he's got amazing in-ring work.
Rusev could easily replace Sheamus, 100%.
Sorry, Sheamus.
As weird foreign bad guy with different color, with a weird skin color,
I don't think there's anything wrong with Sheamus, but we're overexposed to him.
Right, I don't think there's anything wrong with Sheamus either. It's just anytime he gets something good, people hate him regardless, so he doesn't get to do anything good. Sheamus is one of those guys that whenever I see him doing something that I like, it's the worst thing he's done as far as popularity, and then they can it.
That's
you know?
well. I mean,
And then
"Are
they
you
give
not entertained?" was my favorite in-ring quote
I
of
enjoyed it.
2015. Like we talked about that, and then we talked about that.
Yeah, I enjoyed the bully gimmick stuff, you know. So, but to keep it, like I said, to keep things current, you know, we're heading into this week's Raw. We're heading into, I believe, the SmackDown Live draft, correct?
The 12th. The 12th of July. So we're about 2 weeks away.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's right. They moved the time slot and then they announced it, then they pulled back on that because they realized people need time to adjust to the new time slot.
Yeah.
It's airing on Tuesdays and yeah. So, I don't know. It's I'm excited for the draft. They haven't talked about it recently. It's kind of weird.
Right.
They kind of just dropped it for now. But I guess this we'll wrap up this segment because like you said we're going.
Yeah,
long.
My phone may already have maxed out. So,
Yeah,
and plus we're both verging on heat stroke.
That would be super depressing. Yeah, fucking Vegas under hot lights. But so let's wrap this up. You know, in typical podcast style by talking about what the long future,
like.
what the long game is, and I think so. The long game, I believe, is going to be 2 pay-per-views a month. I've heard rumors of.
Yeah.
One for SmackDown, one for Raw.
Yeah.
Unique rosters for both.
Backlash and No Mercy returning.
Backlash and No Mercy. I've heard returns for. I've heard names for those dropped.
Cool. I like Backlash.
And I believe No Mercy's in the fall, and not too far from here, actually.
Right. They moved the date. Like September is Backlash. No Mercy's December. Whatever. Fine with me.
Everything works. Yeah. So.
I'm
the question I have for you, and this will be our final bit here.
Okay.
Do you think that you will be oversaturated with wrestling? Because I know that you, unlike myself, right now don't have absolute free time to indulge in everything that you want to do. Do you think that you're going to be now losing out on wrestling and have to catch up in, let's say, less preferred ways? Because I hate reading, no offense to, I'm not going to name any specific sites, but I hate reading the reviews. I watch the reviews of other channels after I watch I don't watch Raw reviews or SmackDown reviews or pay-per-view reviews to understand what happened. I can watch the network for pay-per-views and stuff like that. So do you think that you're going to fall behind and get lost and maybe even have to just devote yourself to one show and not the other?
Which kind of excites me having to make that decision. In a way,
what a time to live in.
I'm as a wrestling fan, I'm at this moment where I'm excited to see. I'm really just excited for the future period. Mm-hmm. Am I going to get inundated and drowned out by all the content? Maybe. Cool challenge. You know, between all the other things that I would like to focus on in my life, it would be nice to not be able to have time for wrestling, but then go back and go, wow, this is what I've been missing, and be hungry again to catch up. I agree, reading certain reviews is a struggle because I don't think a lot of reviewers, it's become so cliff notey now where a lot of reviewers are just like, oh, that was cool, but they don't do the whole experience justice, and there's little subtleties that I think we can catch sometimes that others may not. And there's ones that they would catch that we wouldn't, you know,
right.
Not trying to be unfair. Point is, I like to watch wrestling. Am I going to feel over encumbered? No, I'm not, because if they do it right, I'm going to be there, you know, and I'm if they do it wrong, or if, you know, I have the possibility of doing more personally fulfilling things like sex, I will probably not watch wrestling for that Tuesday, and that's okay. But at least they will have been putting on good television that will make me want to watch at some point. So, no, I'm excited. Let's just see what happens.
Okay, yeah, because there was a time when NXT first came out where I felt bad if I missed an NXT, and now, you know, now I think NXT is going to get completely swallowed up by, you know, the whole double brand thing. Because that was, you know, Triple H had talked about wanting to make it its own brand, wanting to get it to that point where it's its own thing, but they had to realize, well, we've got this other property, SmackDown. So I think SmackDown's going to sort of become the new NXT, and Raw's going to stay as, you know, the premier flagship show kind of thing. And I think NXT will just sort of get faded into darkness, unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you think about it.
I think that the Performance Center...
Oh, the Performance Center will still be there.
Is doing its thing. Okay, I get what you're saying. Full Sail will just stop being the trial run. A lot of people fear that. And I don't know if we have anything to fear about that.
I don't fear it as long as those wrestlers still show up, get opportunities. Like if that just means that Asuka's on SmackDown and she's the SmackDown's women's champion instead of the Raw women's champion, I think at this point I'm okay with it. I've sort of made peace with my earlier judgments about, keeping purity.
You're okay with there being 2 women's championships?
I'm talking about if that's what it had to be,
Oh, man, I don't think there's dumbest thing they could do.
Right, I don't necessarily think that's going to be true, but if she's the best female wrestler on SmackDown, and and they have a whole different pool on Raw, like that's what I'm saying.
One could argue that no matter what show she's on, she's going to be the best female wrestler there.
Well, duh.
I know. There's a lot of great female talent right now. I just want it all on one show. But then again, when you think about it, it depends on how much they lift from NXT. That's all big up in the air. That's another reason why I'm excited for wrestling right now.
And and it's funny you mention that because I do agree. The last thing I want is 2 main titles. I don't want a WWE title and a World Heavyweight title. That's the last thing I want. So I feel like
we were so excited to see them unified, and it was such a big fucking deal.
And then they've ruined it with one of the worst matches I probably have ever seen in my life.
Oh, you mean the TLC table spot?
With the whole match. The whole match was garbage.
Put Cena cleanly through the table.
And then didn't fucking get up and just do it again like a man, like any other wrestler would.
I was just... everybody thought Cena was going to win that, so I was happy Randy won. I take little victories every time I watch wrestling. But hey...
I'll take a spoon of sugar with my horse manure.
Oh, at least... you got the sugar in the first place.
At least it's only a spoonful of horse manure.
So this one fall is finished. We don't know who went over, but we're going to find out this upcoming week with more professional wrestling. We'll be back for another one fall, hopefully within the next week. So I've been Roz Warren.
I'm Sam the Lionheart.
And we will see who goes over next time.
I'll see you guys next week. Keep checking back every Monday before Raw for updates on Schedule for One Fall podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching.
It's going to be a new exciting format. Thank you, sir, for joining me.
Thanks.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Later, guys.